Nearly $1 billion in sales and growing. Right? So in the early 2000s, audiobook sales doubled every single year, while ebook sales just grew steadily by a percentage or two. Okay, in the last 2 years, they've increased every year by about 24%. Last year, audiobook sales were 940 million. All right, the wealthy, right? So who are listening to audiobooks? The people who can afford it are buying audiobooks, right? They're spending their money on audiobooks. Even though you can get audiobooks at the library, there are not as many at the library as there are on Audible. This is where people who are spending money are putting their money. Right? So it's increased to about 30%. Huge amount of the increase in audiobooks are men and non-white ethnicities and people from the United States and people outside of the United States. So there's probably a multitude of reasons for this, including that you can do it while multitasking. So men who feel like they're under the gun can do it like while they're exercising. They don't have to sit down and be dedicated to one thing. A lot of people from other countries are listening to it. So I will have people who will buy my ebook and then also buy the audiobook so they can listen to how it's pronounced. And I know, because I have fans who write me and say, you know, I've been studying English and I study all these boring textbooks, and then I read your books and they're so fun, and now I read it and I bought the audiobook so I know the correct pronunciation. I can tell you it's a lot more fun for a Chinese student to listen to Marcy's Playground than anything else out there. Right? I can tell you that. All right, that next slide has no reason to be there. I just put it there for my own entertainment. And hopefully yours.
And it's very entertaining.
All right? So they're listening to audiobooks while they do other things. All right. Okay, so triple your income or more. So this is really important, and I want you to really get this. So I went to Amazon and I looked up romance novels, and it's of over 100,000 results for romance novels. Okay, so if you just type in romance novels, you're going to do this. You're going to be one of over 100,000, in your competition to try and sell. Now I went to Audible and I typed in romance novels. First one of over 2,000 results. Wow. Yes. So what does this mean? This means writers are listening to audiobooks, but they're not getting their own stuff in audiobooks and they're missing the boat. All right? So if you have written a book or a short story or a poem or a blog or a little cough like this, you want to get it into audiobook because your chance of being discovered is 50 times greater. This is true for every single genre. So the demand is going up.
It's 500 times greater.
Ah, good. This is why
Oh,
we
no,
still
you're right.
teach math.
You're right, it's 50. My bad.
This is, again, why she doesn't edit math. Get this, right? You write a book, you spend your heart, blood on it, you get an editor, you get a cover, you put it out there, and you sell one copy to your grandmother because nobody can find it. It's a lot easier to find audiobooks. All right, we're going to get down to some nitty-gritty. So your ebook, let's say you sell just 100 units a month for round numbers, $4.95 each, that's gross, $4.95. You're going to get about half of that, right? Now, it varies whether you're hybrid or traditional or indie, what platform it is, whether it's Barnes & Nobles or Amazon or whatever. But basically, you write, and if you're lucky, you're going to get 50% of that. So look at the math there. Ebook, 100 units, gross for your month, $4.95, net, $247. For an audiobook, same 100 units. Now keep in mind, you've already written the book. You've done the hard work. You've written it. You've edited it. You've polished it. You've created this masterpiece. Same audiobook sells for $14.95. You're now grossing $1,500 a month, and you're netting $747 a month. Now, I don't know about you, but I can get a lot of extra massages with an extra $500 a month.
You said.
All right, so now if you look at what that is yearly, right, so your ebooks, you sell a decent amount, 100 a month for 12 months, you're getting about $3,000. Audiobooks, you sell the same $100 a month, it's 12 a month, it's $9,000. Right, so just the difference, if you decided you just wanted to do audiobook instead, It'd be a $6,000 difference. Over 10 years, that's $60,000, right? But there's no reason not to do both, because you've already got a story. So if you add it in addition, right, instead of $3,000, you're now $11,000. You multiply that times 10, it's $110,000. That's the money that you're leaving on the table by not doing this. And that's assuming you're selling 100 units a month. That's not an unreasonable number, okay? You can do that, especially with the need for audiobooks compared to how many are out there. But let's say you don't sell $100 a month. Let's say you sell 50 a month. Right? It's only half that. I could find ways to spend an extra 50 grand, right? Even if you only sell 25 a month, the math still works. You don't want to leave this behind. All right, so we're going to go back to math as soon as I can get over counting on my fingers and toes. We're going to go back to math and nitty-gritty in a minute. But I want to encourage you, do not read your own book, all right? Unless you're a professional actress and you've got a professional recording studio in your house, don't do it. Get somebody to do it for you, okay? So I want to talk a minute about duet versus dual. Duet is the man voices all the male characters and the woman voices all the female characters, and they intersperse them. So I'm very uniquely qualified to talk about this. I'm one of the only writers who's a writer and a narrator. I've got a full recording setup in my house. I've got the actor credits. So this is from my book, Risk Your Heart. It's going to take me a minute, but I'm going to pull up the retail sample, and I want you to see. I want you to see if we can listen to this. It's gonna take me a second here, but
is that typical for because I've listened to a lot of audiobooks where it's just one person. Like I recently re-listened to
that's
Fear of Flying, and
that's more common, and we're going to do that next.
Okay,
so
one voice?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is Risk Your Heart. This is two voices at once.
Anyone tell him that he isn't a flying toy, or that he can't fly, or that he
this is
won't be
different.
able to fly. Don't let anyone tell you who you are. Don't even let the negative part of yourself tell you who you are or aren't, or why. I think it seems like you think maybe your suck thing is because you think you need it
All right,
to
this is
somehow
the
keep a
wrong-
lid on yourself. But maybe that's not true. Maybe it's just
It's the wrong clip. I don't know why I don't have the right clip for that. But anyway, you get the idea. There can be two voices put together. All right, the next one. This is from Rock Hard. This is from Rock Hard Book 1. The man does all the male and female voices from the man's character point of view. So if you've got alternating point of view, he does all of them. And then the woman does all those from her point of view. And this is more common. I want to show you how distinct it is to hear who's talking. All right, so let's see if I can get this one up for you. I might have to play these for you later. Of course, they're not coming up on anything to come up. I don't know. I had it. Just, here we go.
You what?
Here we go.
She blushes.
Listen
You
to
know?
voices.
I shake my head. I don't know. I mean, I've dreamed of having you this way for years. My voice goes up. A lot. You what? She blushes again, slightly deeper. She doesn't say anything, so I try to take that in. But I can't. I just can't picture it. Finally, clearly dumbfounded, I say, you thought of us this way. She doesn't answer with words, but her face says yes. How come I never knew? How come you never did anything? You never knew because you're a dumbass, and I never did anything because Jace would kill me. Well, if that isn't like a bucket of cold water to the face, I forced myself to roll off her. Hey, that doesn't mean I want you to stop. Lexi, we can't do this. Rule number 1 of band rules is you never get involved with anyone else in the band, because when it ends, and it always will, and eventually it ends bad, then the band breaks up. In our case, it's not just you and me, it's... I slam the brakes on that one, because I know it's more complicated than just Lexi and me, or me and my friendship with Jace. It's me and my past, and that's something I can't even think about. Not to mention, there's the bro code. Fuck the bro code. I can't help it. I smile at that. You don't know. You're not a bro. Thank God for that. So, we're back in the friend zone. This was a near miss. Uh-huh.
All right, that's the end of that one. All right, so that's the great award-winning Noah Michael Levine, and he did all of the voices for that book. And you have no doubt who's Ryder and who's Lexi, right? He didn't do a falsetto, he didn't whatever, but it's very, very clear. Okay, so the more people you have on it, the more it can cost, which is why we tend to have one actor doing all of it. You can usually get 2 people to do it for the price of 1 actor. Once you do multiple casts, you're getting more than that. But so that's kind of what it sounds like. That's from Rock Hard. Please pray that it wins an Audie. Okay, so we're getting to the nitty gritty. You're thinking about getting your book into audiobook, and you want to know how much it's going to cost and how to do it, and is it worth it? Here's the formula. 9,300 words is 1 finished hour of narration.
Wow.
So that's how long it takes for a narrator to talk acting. Okay, so if you have a 46,000 word novel, which is about 150 pages, that's just the shortest level novel. If you've got an 150 page novel, that's about 5 hours of narration. Sure, no problem. Now, narrators charge per finished hour. It takes a narrator about 5 hours of work to produce 1 hour of your finished book. What?
It takes what?
Per finished hour, for every hour of finished reading that you get, it takes the narrator 5 hours of work,
Wow.
right? Because they have to read the script themselves first, they have to decide on the voices, they have to record it, and when you're giving a speech, if you say, you just keep going. You can't do that on an audiobook. Every single lip lick, every single word that's not needed, every single noise, that all needs to be cut out. Changes need to be made. Things need to be dropped in and fixed. It takes a lot of time, and it takes sound engineering. So the rule is 5 hours of work equal 1 per finished hour. You want somebody who's good, okay? The good people in the business, they're charging $250 to $450 per finished hour. And paying $300 an hour for something sounds like, oh my God, $300 an hour? That's so much. But you have to think from the actor's point of view, you're dividing it by 5, plus they've got to take off sound engineering off the top of that. And the engineering requirements are very, very specific. The decibel levels, it's like 0.1 decibel, because it has to be able to play on everybody's phones and computers and different, on the CD, all consistently for decibels. So, okay, so your per finished hour rate, 300 per finished hour, you've got an 150 page book, 5 hours, so you're gonna be paying your narrator $1,500. It take a minute to go like, ugh, right? And that's assuming that your book's only 150 pages. If you've got a 300 page book, right, which like all of my Rock Hard books are 300 pages, then you're dropping $3,000. And $3,000, even, it's a little painful for a writer, okay? It is. But I want you to look at the money that you're losing if you don't do it, right? So here's your audiobook. You're earning $747 a month times 12 months is $8,000 per year. Your first year, you're getting $9,000 minus the $1,500 it took to produce it is still $7,400, right? That's your first year. And then after that, it's the $9,000 every dollar, right? So for the next 10 years, you're earning $88,200.
Over
right?
the next 10
Over the
years.
next 10 years, right? And that's assuming that you're selling 100 units a month. So even if you only sell 50 units a month, that's still over the next 10 years, right, $44,000. And it doesn't just work for 10 years, it works forever. Forever. In perpetuity, right? It's a 50-year copyright renewable. So your son or your nephew or your great niece, right, they can renew that copyright. They're going to keep getting money long after you're gone, right? And the amount of people who are listening to audiobooks is going up and up, where the amount of people who are reading is the same to going down. And that trend is just going to get bigger as our attention spans get shorter and our demands get bigger, and people realize, like, these are not your mama's audiobooks, right? This is not what you used to, like, put in a cassette tape on a car and somebody would read monotone towards you. These are really well acted and well produced, and as more people are realizing the quality now that's out there, more people are doing it. So you want to get into it, and you want to get into it now. All right, but what if, sure, like, I hear you, and I really want the $88,000, but I really just can't drop $1,000. I don't have it, I can't do it, right? So what if? So there's something called a hybrid program. It's a per finished hour plus a royalty share. So you can get somebody to do a per finished hour for, say, $100 an hour instead of $300, right? So your 5 hours times 100 is now $500 instead of $1,000, which is a lot more manageable, right? That's a more manageable to think about chunk. But you're giving them part of your royalty share. That means you're giving them half of your royalties for 7 years. Okay, that's what the royalty share is. It's 7 years. So if you were netting $6,000 a year on it, right? Half of that is $3,000. If you're giving them $3,000 times 7, you're now giving them $21,000. Welcome to the world of audiobook narration. Now, I will tell you that the best people in the business will not do hybrids and they will not do royalty shares. And I'll tell you why. We know this math. We know that you do not want to do this. So we know that if you're doing this, this means you think you will only sell 2 or 3 audiobooks. You think you'll sell one to your grandmama and your cousin's baby Bubba, and that's it. Because if you were going to sell 15 books or more, you would manage to find a way to come up with that upfront money so that you didn't have to share this for 7 years. If you're doing a royalty share, what you're saying is, I have so little fan base and I have so little faith that I don't think I will sell more than the original outpay. And narrators believe you. If you think you won't sell more than that, you won't. And so it's harder to find some. Now, there are plenty of people who will do this, hoping that yours will take off. But if we do this, we're going to ask you, how many Facebook followers does your professional page have? How many Instagram followers? How many Twitter followers? What are your platforms? What are your ratings? How many people have rated it on Amazon? Because we want to know. Because otherwise we end up working for free. Because 5 hours of work at $100 an hour, ends up being not quite as much. All right, so that's basically my thing on audiobooks. Get into it, right? Get into it. ACX.com is the Audible Exchange. It stands for Audible Creative Exchange. ACX.com is where you listen to your narrators to see who you like. There are over 5,000 professional narrators available. They've all got demo samples up there. Look up Dawn Kinghart, my demo samples are available. And then you ask them to do an audition. You give them a 2-page sample, you put it up there, you ask for auditions, you tell them what your range is, and then you wait for the auditions to come in, and then you make a contract and you do the book. Okay? So I'm sure you have plenty of questions about that, and we're going to talk some more about that, but I just kind of want to wrap that up and say if you really want to improve your income, this is the place to do it. All right, so you start with an idea, you end up with an ebook, a print book, and an audiobook. You make sure your dog listens to it first to say it's okay. And you just start it. You do it, and you keep in contact with me, and you let me be your cheerleader, and we keep going until we got it done. And then you get to the sweetest words in the entire English language, the end. All right, so visit me at mjrobertswriter.com. Write me. I want everybody to keep in touch with me. support you. I also have a review site called Multi-Platinum Reviews. I will review your book. I will interview you. I will connect you with my fans. I will work to help you level up.
Good
All
job.
right, that's it for today.